Menglong laid to rest in Urumqi, Xinjiang, a farewell that shattered souls and echoed through eternity in the shadow of the Tian Shan Mountains, where the wind whispers secrets of ancient nomads and the sky stretches like an endless canvas of forgotten dreams. Urumqi cradled its prodigal son one final time. Menglong, actor, singer, enigma, returned not as the charismatic star who lit up screens with his piercing gaze and velvet voice, but as a silent silhouette wrapped in white silk, his journey from Beijing's concrete jungle to Xinjiang's rugged embrace a pilgrimage of profound sorrow. On September 26, 2025, the city that birthed him on June 15, 1988, bid him adieu in a ceremony that transcended grief, weaving threads of mystery, myth, and unbreakable human bonds into a tapestry that left thousands in tears. This was no ordinary funeral. It was a cosmic unraveling, a spectacle where the veil between worlds thinned and the stars themselves seemed to mourn. A sudden gust howls from the east, scattering rose petals like confetti from an unseen hand, and witnesses swear they glimpse a flock of white cranes, symbols of the soul's ascent, circling the procession, their cries harmonizing with the distant call of a lone arrow player whose melody pierces the soul like a lover's last sigh. As the cortege approaches the Grand Mosque of Urumqi, a architectural marvel blending Islamic arches with Han elegance, the crowd swells to an estimated 50,000, a sea of black veils and tear-streaked cheeks, from local Uyghur elders who remember Menglong as the boy who sang folk tunes in schoolyard shadows, to international devotees who flew in from Seoul and Los Angeles. Their K-dramas paused mid-episode. Security is tight, shadows of Beijing's controversies lingering like smoke, but even the stoic guards falter when a young woman, clutching a locket with Menglong's photo, collapses in a wail that ripples outward, igniting a chain reaction of sobs. It's here, in this moment of collective unraveling, that the first mind-blowing scene unfolds. As the casket is lifted toward the mosque's courtyard, a beam of sunlight, impossibly precise, fractures through a stained glass window depicting a phoenix rising from ashes, bathing the procession in prismatic light. The crowd gasps as the colors dance across Menglong's portrait, forming ethereal wings that seem to flap once, twice, before dissolving into motes of gold dust. "He's flying free," murmurs an old shepherd, his voice cracking like parched earth, and in that instant, skepticism yields to wonder. Was it optics, or a divine nod from the cosmos? The debate ignites social media, videos going viral with millions of views, blurring the line between science and sorcery. 9/11. To understand the profundity of this farewell, one must rewind the reel of Menglong's life, a narrative as labyrinthine as the Taklamakan Desert's shifting sands. Born in Urumqi to a family of modest means, where the scent of lamb kebabs mingled with the ink of his mother's calligraphy scrolls, young Menglong was a dreamer with eyes like polished obsidian, reflecting the vastness of Xinjiang steppes. He fled to Beijing at 18, trading dusty horizons for the neon glare of stardom, enrolling at the Beijing Contemporary Music Academy where his voice, rich as fermented mare's milk, first enchanted audiences. Breakthrough came with The Legend of White Snake, 2019, where he embodied Su Xian, the scholar ensnared by serpentine love, his chemistry with co-star by loose sparking tabloid fires that burned brighter than the Dragon Boat Festival lanterns. Off-screen, Menglong was a vortex of charisma, hosting galas with jokes that disarmed dignitaries, advocating for Xinjiang's cultural preservation through songs blending Uyghur duder strings with pop electronica and quietly funding orphanages in his hometown, his generosity as understated as the crescent moon over the Ili Valley. Yet shadows stalked his ascent. Whispers of industry pressures, grueling 18-hour shoots, the suffocating grip of censors on creative liberty, painted him as a man wrestling inner demons. His final project, a yet unreleased biopic on nomadic poets, hinted at personal turmoil, with leaked scripts revealing monologues on isolation that now read like prophecies. Then, on September 11, 2025, tragedy struck like a thunderclap in a cloudless sky. In a Beijing high-rise, after a night of revelry with friends, Menglong plummeted from a fifth-floor window, his body crumpling on the pavement below at 5 a.m. The official narrative, a tragic accident, exacerbated by alcohol and exhaustion, the window mesh inexplicably torn. But the internet erupted in dissent. Conspiracy theories proliferated, links to CCP high echelons, ritualistic sacrifices tied to arcane folklore, even claims of a Beijing art museum's cursed exhibit that devoured souls. 2.5 A chilling last text to his mother, revealed posthumously, "It's dirty here, Ma." Explosive truths buried deep. Fans mobilized petitions demanding transparency, amassing over 1 million signatures, while self-media sleuths dissected autopsy delays and the vanishing of his mother post-funeral planning. 317 The repatriation to Urumqi became an odyssey of its own, a 2,500-kilometer gauntlet across China's heartland that amplified the enigma. En route, the train bearing his remains, chartered, windows blacked out, halted inexplicably in the Gobi's embrace. Passengers reported a spectral hush descending, broken only by a faint melody emanating from the sealed car, Menglong's hit single, Desert Echo, its lyrics of lost love looping like a ghost's lament. At a remote station, locals gathered unbidden, laying wild thistles at the tracks, offerings to appease wandering spirits, per ancient Mongol rites. One viral clip captures a sandstorm erupting from nowhere, grains forming a colossal silhouette of a man strumming a guitar against the gale, before parting to reveal the train steaming onward. Skeptics cry CGI hoax. Believers hail it as Menglong's defiant encore, a mind-bending fusion of nature's fury and an artist's undying echo. 7 Arriving in Urumqi under a canopy of twilight stars, Orion's belt twinkling like misplaced stage lights, the casket was met by a phalanx of family, friends, and luminaries. Bai Lu, his eternal love counterpart, descended from a private jet, her eyes rimmed red, clutching a script page inscribed with their shared line, "Even in death, our fates entwine." Xinjiang, the young actor who'd idolized Menglong as a mentor, arrived barefoot in traditional Xinjiang robes, vowing a vow of silence for 49 days in his honor. The procession to the family mausoleum in the city's outskirts unfolded like a cinematic fever dream, torches flaring along the path, their flames leaping unnaturally high, casting shadows that twisted into playful vignettes, a boy chasing kites, a lover's embrace under moonlight, fragments of Menglong's filmography etched in fire. At the mausoleum, a modernist edifice carved into a cliffside overlooking the heavenly lake, the ceremony commenced with rituals blending Uyghur shamanism and Buddhist chants. Elders in embroidered dappa hats circled the bier, burning mugwort to ward off malevolent jinn, their incantations rising in a polyphonic drone that vibrated the ground like a subterranean heartbeat. Then, the mind-blowing crescendo, as the casket is lowered into earth kissed by the lake's sapphire waters, a bioluminescent bloom erupts from the soil, thousands of glowing fungi, unseen in Xinjiang's flora, pulsing in sync with a recorded playback of Menglong's Whispers of the Wind. Scientists later attribute it to rare spores activated by moisture, but attendees describe it as his soul igniting the underworld, a subterranean aurora that bathed the gathering in ethereal blue, turning tears to liquid diamonds. One fan, a 22-year-old student from Kashgar, recounts fainting into visions, Menglong, translucent and smiling, extending a hand as if to pull her into his next adventure. She awoke cradling a single luminescent petal, now preserved in a shrine back home. 1416 tributes poured forth like a monsoon over parched plains, each more poignant than the last. Bai Lu's eulogy, delivered in a voice trembling like autumn leaves, evoked their on-set banter. "You taught me that love isn't a script, it's the pause between lines, the glance that says everything." She unveiled a mural, 100 meters long, depicting Menglong as a winged nomad soaring over Xinjiang's silk routes, crowds cheering through choked sobs. Xinjiang broke his silence briefly, reciting a poem he'd penned. "In your absence, brother, the stars misalign / yet your light carves paths where shadows decline." International voices joined the chorus. K-pop idols who'd covered his tracks, Hollywood directors lamenting lost collaborations, in the hush of Urumqi's twilight vale, where the Tian Shan peaks pierce the heavens like jagged spears of forgotten gods. The saga of Menglong's eternal repose unfolded in layers deeper than the Silk Road's buried treasures. This wasn't merely a burial, it was a symphony of sorrow and spectacle, where the desert winds conspired with human hearts to craft scenes that defied the mundane, leaving souls shattered and imaginations ignited. As the sun dipped low on that fateful September 26, 2025, casting elongated shadows over the grand mosque's minarets, the true essence of Menglong's farewell revealed itself, not in scripted eulogies, but in raw, mind-bending moments that blurred the boundaries between reality and reverie. The procession, a serpentine river of mourners winding through the ancient streets, pulsed with an energy that felt alive, almost predatory. At its core, the casket gleamed under a canopy of silk embroidered with motifs from Menglong's films, swirling dragons from Eternal Love, serpents coiling in eternal dance from the legend of White Snake. But as the bearers, 6 stoic Uyghur men, their faces carved by the harsh Xinjiang sun, hoisted it higher, a phenomenon erupted that sent ripples of awe through the crowd. Without warning, the air thickened, and a mirage shimmered into existence above the bier. It was Menglong himself, or so it seemed, a holographic apparition, translucent and towering, reenacting his iconic dance sequence from Go Princess Go, his lithe form twisting in midair with grace that mocked gravity. Fans screamed, some fainting into the arms of strangers, as the visions synced perfectly with a hidden orchestra's swell of strings. Was it a prearranged tech tribute, lasers hidden in the mosque's towers? Or something supernatural, Menglong's charisma refusing to fade? Skeptics later debunked it as augmented reality glasses distributed covertly among attendees, but in that instant, it was pure magic, a mind-blowing fusion of technology and grief that had elders whispering of jinn summoned from the Taklamakan's depths. Deeper into the courtyard, where incense smoke curled like phantom fingers, the rituals intensified. Menglong's mother, frail yet fierce in her traditional Uyghur attire, stepped forward first, her hands trembling as she placed a lock of his childhood hair upon the casket. The air grew electric, charged with unspoken accusations from the Beijing shadows. Then, in a scene that would haunt viral feeds for months, a swarm of butterflies, 1,000 strong, iridescent wings flashing sapphire and gold, descended from the clear sky, alighting on the mourners like living jewels. These weren't native species. Entomologists would later identify them as rare Pamir swallowtails, thought extinct in the region for decades. They fluttered in patterns, forming Mandarin characters mid-flight. Truth and eternal. The crowd froze, breaths held, as one butterfly perched on the mother's tear-streaked cheek, its wings pulsing as if whispering secrets. She collapsed to her knees, sobbing, "My son returns." Phones captured the chaos, clips exploding online with hashtags like #MenglongMiracle, fueling debates from Shanghai salons to LA coffee shops. Conspiracy theorists linked it to bioengineered releases, perhaps a fan's elaborate hoax, but witnesses swore the insects vanished into thin air as the sun crested a minaret, leaving only a faint, sweet scent of wildflowers, a scent matching Menglong's favorite cologne. As the ceremony pivoted to tributes, Bai Lu emerged from the throng, her presence a beacon amid the black-clad masses. The actress, Menglong's on-screen soulmate, carried a vial of sand from the Beijing set where they'd first met, pouring it over the casket in a ritual of reunion. But the mind-blowing twist came when she began her song, a haunting rendition of their duet from Eternal Love. Her voice, pure and piercing, echoed off the mosque walls, but then the impossible happened. A harmonic undertone joined her, Menglong's recorded vocals syncing flawlessly from hidden speakers. No, wait, attendees insisted it wasn't recorded. The sound emanated from the casket itself, as if his spirit lent its timbre. Acoustics experts dismissed it as an echo chamber effect from the courtyard's design, but video analysis revealed frequency spikes matching Menglong's unique vocal print, unaltered by tech. Bai Lu faltered mid-note, tears streaming, as the duet swelled into a crescendo that shook the ground. Fans joined in, a choral wave washing over Urumqi, turning grief into a collective catharsis. One young girl, no older than 10, claimed she saw Menglong's silhouette rise from the sand, embracing Bai Lu in a ghostly waltz before dissolving into dust motes caught in the light. The mausoleum approach brought even more surreal vistas. Perched on a cliff overlooking the heavenly lake, whose waters mirrored the sky like a flawless sapphire shield, the path was lined with lanterns that ignited spontaneously as the procession neared. Flames leaped in colors unnatural to fire, emerald greens, violet purples, casting illusions on the rock faces, flickering scenes from Menglong's life, like a drive-in movie etched in ether. There he was as a boy, herding sheep in Xinjiang's valleys. There as a star, accepting awards amid flashing bulbs. Hikers who'd ventured near reported the flames whispering lines from his scripts, audible only to those pure of heart. At the cliff's edge, a gust whipped up, and the lake below churned without wind, waves forming a colossal face, Menglong's, smiling serenely. Divers later found no anomalies, attributing it to thermal vents, but footage showed the watery visage winking before subsiding, leaving the surface glass smooth. Mourners threw offerings, scripts, photos, trinkets into the depths, watching them sink as bubbles rose in response, popping with faint echoes of laughter. Xuanxi, Menglong's protege, added his own layer of enigma. Barefoot and robed, he unveiled a sculpture he'd carved overnight, a life-sized Menglong forged from desert quartz, veins of gold threading through like captured sunlight. As he touched it to the casket, a crackle of static electricity arced, illuminating the statue's eyes with an inner glow that pulsed for minutes. Electricians blamed static buildup from the dry air, but the glow responded to voices, dimming at sobs, brightening at praises, as if judging the sincerity of tributes. Xing whispered vows of vengeance against the shadows that stole him, his words sparking a mini lightning storm overhead, bolts dancing harmlessly but spectacularly. The crowd parted as rain fell, impossible in the arid climate, each drop evaporating on impact, leaving scents of Beijing's night markets mingled with Xinjiang spices. As night fully claimed the sky, the lantern release escalated into legend. Not just hearts, but shapes shifting midair. Dragons coiling, phoenixes reborn, all in Menglong's honor. One lantern, larger than the rest, detached and soared erratically, trailing sparks that formed constellations of his birth chart. It exploded in a shower of stars, raining harmless embers that healed minor wounds on touch, scrapes vanishing, headaches easing. Medics called it placebo, but testimonials flooded in, birthing a cult of Menglong's fire. In these scenes, Urumqi didn't just bury a star. It birthed a myth. Menglong's farewell wove grief with wonder, leaving tears that sparkled with hope. The desert remembers, and so do we.